Hey, thank you so much for joining me for today's show. There are those who really enjoy just being on stage, and then there are those who enjoy building the stage, building the platform, uplifting the talent that you see. The person that you're going to hear from today knows just a little bit about both. Joining me on stage today with David Choate, Miss Toilynn ONeal Turner. Well, thank you so much for being here. Um, we've got Toilynn ONeal Turner, who is not just among many, many hats. Like, I'm like, this is the hard part. This is why I need you is practice. Because it's like when you meet people who have so many things on a resume, I'm like, how do I do a quick intro?
Right,
Like, to
right,
summarize. So,
right.
arts education, business, influencing culture, working on a multi-million dollar project as we speak. Um, Miss Toilynn ONeal Turner, hi, how are you?
Wow, thank you, thank you. So excited to be with you here today, and just an honor. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for, in addition to being all of those other things, one, taking the time. I appreciate that because I know how rare that is. And thank you for also being a friend.
Oh
Um,
yes.
Started a new company, David
Hmm.
Joe Productions, and venturing more into that space, right, of not just being one thing, not just being like, oh yeah, he does dance, and he can come choreograph for you, but trying to like build this ecosystem of using the stage to uplift other Black artists and
Hmm.
impact Black culture. Like, I feel like you're definitely somebody who just stepped right on in really early. Like, who is this boy? What's he trying to do? And you've like put me on to so much game. You've like educated me on so much. You've supported me in a lot of ways to help me get to do the stuff that I'm doing. So I'm like, definitely I got to have you here for a conversation
Hmm.
um, that I'm sure will just continue to benefit me. But if we don't mind, giving people a peek into it, because people got to see what it takes. And so that was really my first question for you. Like, can you, and I know it's kind of vague in expanse. Um, what does it take to be that person in the Black community that we're looking up to? Like, that person is doing the work and making real change in this ecosystem in Cincinnati.
Well, I'm honored that you look up to me. I look up to you. I mean,
Oh, come
the
on!
energy and the motivation behind what you started, and just the fierceness in like this is gonna happen, and then executing it. So
If
I'm
we make it
honored.
happen, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well, I tell you this, I have often wondered, in my life, just all the evolution of things I've been exposed to, and with my father's legacy, with my family in the
Mm.
community, and just kind of figuring like who Toiling was going to end up being. You,
Right,
you go through that phase every 10 years, you kind of wake up and like, who am I going to be?
right.
And at 50, almost 51, I really am. I'm not impressed with myself, but I'm just in awe of like the endurance, right?
You
Like
should be impressed with yourself.
I'm in the
Yeah.
endurance that you have to go through to kind of keep focused on a dream, right?
Hmm.
And then take that dream and make it a vision, and then keep pushing to
Yeah.
try to see it to get to where it needs to be. So I think for me, it takes patience, something I have not had most of
Yeah.
my life. I am definitely not into horoscopes, but the description of a Virgo is very perfectionist and
Yeah.
very structured. And when it,
Virgo energy.
yes,
Yes.
all day,
Yeah.
all
Uh,
day. That perfectionism and that challenge of trying to do things right
mhm.
in a certain way, I've
Mhm.
had to humble myself
Right.
a lot with this particular project of building the Regal Theater and trying to save this historical space and to
Yes.
build this new
Yes.
organization. So I've had to humble myself and realize that I'm not perfect,
Hmm.
that perfection is not necessarily a quality that people should aim for. It's something
Mhm.
that happens,
Mhm.
at least for me, something that
Yeah.
happens.
It's
And
a
so,
perfecting. I
yes,
think it's what Michelle Obama. It's becoming.
yes.
Which is this everyday thing. And I'm so
Hmm.
glad that you said that, because like I'm new to coming into the scene and stuff, and I'm trying to like in this space of feeling like, oh, we're moving towards something, and this can be big, and this can happen. But now that I just have the thought of it, I'm trying to tell people now, like, don't forget though, like 2 weeks ago, like my account was in the negative. Like 2 weeks ago, like,
Right.
you know, I'm still sitting here like in these same spots. Like we had this dream together. Talk to me about what it is to be the person that there's tons of people that have the dream. There's tons of people that's like, man, life's got to be better than this. What is it that makes in us that encourages you to say, not only do I want better, but I am going to be the one to start doing the work, because it's a lot of work.
Yes.
And you talked about that. You talked about having this endurance and the stamina to do.
Yes.
You want good things. The dream is good. You would think any and everybody would be supporting it. What's the pushback that you get, and what motivates you to say, I'm going to be the one to do the work?
Yeah, so I've had a great village, you know, the small family part, you know, mom, dad, awesome people. You know, we were never what was considered wealthy. You know, we just always had what we needed and we were happy, right? That village piece is so powerful, meaning that I've had to pivot from some of my villages. You know, I have multiple villages, right? I kind of humongous.
There is not just the village.
There's not this one. It's not just one core group of people that you depend on. Every piece of what I'm doing has a different part of it that needs people support. Right. And then without people, what you realize is that there's people who get successful without people. But when you're doing community work, when you're doing nonprofit work, when you're working in the culture, right, people are the most important part of it. So who you surround yourself by, who you talk to, who you actually let in your space is so crucial for your sanity. Yeah. Right. And when you have the wrong people in that space, what tends to happen is everything is upside down. Right. You know, be it your personal relationships or it's your business relationships, you got to be very careful on who you allow to be in that personal space. And so, you know, I've been very blessed that most artists and creative people are dreamers. And so they believe in everything. Yes. Yeah. The realistic people in my life, they tend to be more on the financially efficient side. So they can be some sanity touchstones that kind of stop you from going in the wrong places. Right. But it is about who you circle yourself with. And I think there is no me in this space. There's kind of like a us. Yeah. And regardless if everybody even knows they're on that team, that's the way it's kind of worked. Yeah. You know, it's like, can't do much without one without the other. Even though some things I feel like I'm alone.
And you're the face though.
And
right?
I'm the face.
You're the face.
Right.
And I don't think that it's just because you come from legacy. Like, you have to want to do this work. Like you could have been like, you know, dad was great. He did amazing things in the community, and you could just live off the name, right? But you're like, no, there's more work that needs to be done. A lot of people don't think that there is so much work that needs to be done, right? Right. I know that. And quite frankly, I was glad to see, like, oh, Toilynn struggles too. Still to come, on stage with David Cho.
And I do think people should invest in things that they claim they live and do.
That's the piece. So when you say, like, we got to do a class together, and it's like, you know, I'm so glad that you would be so candid and share. And it's like, oh, you get that too? Like,
Yes, yes.
my dad, bless his heart, I know his good qualities, but I didn't come from that name,
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that when I'm getting the sly remarks are, was that what was that?
Mm-hmm.
Are that just hints of like racism, or I know that the work that I'm doing, it's hard work for
Right,
anybody, but then I felt like there were some things in the environment that just makes it harder. um
right.
and I'm like, I thought it was from where I was coming from, but
Mm-hmm.
then I'm meeting more people like yourself, and it's like, oh, you're dealing with this too.
Right.
um what's been that experience like? Has it been easy for you, like the road? And what are some of the obstacles?
Yeah, it has been a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I get on the roller coaster like every morning. I start off at the bottom and I'm just like, okay, what's the day?
Mm-hmm.
Go up the roller coaster, and sometimes the roller coaster I stay at the peak, and I'm like, okay, this is good. This is
Yeah.
the high point.
Yeah.
And then many days I go to the bottom very fastly.
Yeah.
I think it has definitely been difficult. I don't see it being any easier moving forward. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be lots of great blessings and opportunities that's going to happen as people actually start to see the building being worked on. And there's
Yeah.
going to be, I call it the bandwagon syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
where everybody now is so in love with this project and they're just, oh, we've been there from the beginning. We
Yep.
love you, Toilynn. Um,
After they see,
After they see the
oh,
work,
oh, it's happening.
it's
Yeah.
happening. But I think the biggest obstacles that have happened, which have shocked me,
Mm-hmm.
is the people that are in positions to support you and help you, and they just don't.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them like, you are a leader, you
Mm-hmm.
are part of the community, you represent this whole mission that I speak. Because people
That's the
are
piece, though, right?
organizations, right?
Because I had to think about that. Like, who are we to be upset at somebody for not giving their money?
Right,
Was the place I was in. Like, I can't tell you what to do with your
right.
money. I recently was talking to a friend, and they were frustrated because they're having like some financial difficulties. They know somebody who's got the means,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of felt like they should help them out. And it's like,
Right,
it don't work like that, though.
right,
Like, I don't have to give you what I worked for, and nobody
right.
else. So in this space of feeling like Black arts and Black initiatives don't get the support that we want, or
Mm-hmm.
that not even that we want, that we need,
Right.
basic infrastructure, sustainability, operating support. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then I was like, who are we to criticize any one person? But it's what you just said. You say you
Mm-hmm.
represent
Right.
what I'm trying to
You
accomplish.
live the mission. Your
You live the
organization lives the
mission.
mission.
Yeah.
And the scary part is too is not only when you say I actually have a different opinion. I do think people should invest in things that they
Hmm.
claim they live and do.
That's the piece.
So
When
yeah. So
you
my
say
humility
like
is over about that. Mm-hmm.
that's what hit me. When
Mm-hmm.
the moment you say, this is my mission,
Right.
or the moment you say, oh, these are the type of initiatives that I'm trying to invest in,
Right.
now you've opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
You've invited me in, and
Right.
so now that's where I have, because since George Floyd, since 2020, we've seen this influx of people with now these like minority based programming,
Mm-hmm.
minority based funding, or you
Right.
see people they'll put our faces out,
Mm-hmm.
use our names, use our organizations, and talk about raising, or supporting African American organizations.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's not, like, who is the single one African American organization, like, in their own space, like that $1 million building,
Mm-hmm.
are just like really out here killing it in terms of like being able to actually staff and employ like their artists,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to produce our seasons. And there's tons of
Right.
predominantly white organizations, but then we don't even have like this like single one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's like, but the funding pool is the same, and the
Mm-hmm.
people are saying, we're here for you.
Right.
but
Right.
are you really? You know,
Right.
and it's like still to come on stage with David Cho.
That the cohesion of connectivity,
Yeah.
the visibility of unity, and the financial stability that happens when you don't have to worry about all the pieces.
And I don't mind if it's turbulent, and I don't mind if it's calm.
Do we need to diversify? Is it because we didn't come from like who could just get together with friends maybe and pitch in that initial $100,000 investment to say go through do this, or many of organizations started with a lot more than $100,000,
Right.
you know, just to go start. And it's like you and I, we wake up and we got nothing more than an idea, and we just go and we put our hands to it to make it work.
Right.
I'm like, what's the difference?
Well, I think we have, there's always two types. Well, I think there's three types of people. There's people who earn their wealth, there's people who inherit their wealth, and there's people who take wealth,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that what we have a wealth is in what we execute, our talent,
Yeah.
our passion. I think that
because we get the job done.
we get it done
all the time.
And I think too that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. We are cultivating the next generation to look at things differently. So I do think there's an accountability space that sometimes it might not have happened in the generation that we've come into, where we do have a responsibility to teach how we take care of each other.
Yeah.
Right. So you have our ancestors who had to take care of each other because of slavery, because of oppression, because of direct visual racism, right? Then you have a period where we've evolved, where we have resources, we have jobs, we have opportunities, and we have lost this culture of making sure we take care of each other. That was important to our culture. That's important to everybody's culture.
Yep.
There's no culture out there that does not have a system in which they take care of each other. You join organizations so you can become affiliated to take care of each other,
right?
To learn, to build. And I think what we've lost,
or what's been ingrained though,
or been distracted.
And it started with, well, if you're fair skinned, we'll allow you to take a job in the house, and it continued on with, I mean, even when like during the time of the Great Migration, and like. It's like, well, we got to get the hell out of here. Like, we got to get out of the South. And it's like, but then the conversations that were had, like, well, before you come north, like, we had to learn, like, don't do that. Don't be too loud. Don't do. And it's so, even, I think what is unique about African-American culture is it wasn't just even Blackness, right? Then it became, even within it, these little additional things to say you're better, or act this way, and talk this way, and keep your hair like this, and work twice as hard, and don't speak up. And so I think it introduced among us within the community this scarcity mindset, which I know I saw firsthand coming up. Like, I would hear people in the church and people talk about all the time, Black people can't work together. And that's what I loved about us, is you showed me like firsthand what it's like, oh no, my organization's going to produce this.
Right.
And I'm going to use your organization to handle this. And I'm going to hire this organization to handle that. Oh, and I'm going to reach out to my sister over here to come and do this. And it's like, you could have taken all that money and just like done whatever in-house, right? But how beautiful, how more expansive when you open it up. And I'm like, come on and show us what it's like.
And then how
to
it
work together.
builds what I'm trying to build.
Exactly.
I mean, the reality of it is, I think that, so I grew up in a different culture, which is amazing. And I wish that everybody could have that. So I grew up where all I saw was Black people working together.
Ooh, what was that like?
That was the Arkansas scene. That was the Arkansas scene. Now, I'm sure there was dynamics, and I'm not saying even in my lifetime of being part of the organization, we didn't have dynamics where people didn't connect.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between working together and connecting together.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think we get
Because
caught
some
up
people
on
show up
is,
to get the check.
yeah, and then some people
Yeah.
show up and their personalities don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
Yeah.
have many divas and dons in
Yeah.
arts, right?
Yeah.
But I do recognize that what we always had was a core space where collaboration was easy
Yeah.
because it was a hub. And we also had this opportunity where some of the pressures of what you needed to do to live and collectively work together were taken off.
Right. Right.
So I think there is some dynamics that to me are very serious. A lot of times, yes, we need dance, we need your company, we
Mhm.
need other organizations that have independent structures, they have a mission, they're doing great things.
Yep.
But if we look at how money works
Mm-hmm.
and what people invest in, the more unified we are, the better opportunity we have to succeed with our goals. And I think we've been pushed by other structures and other systems
Yeah.
to not be unified.
Yeah.
Like you need to go after this funding or you need to be seen over this group
Mm-hmm.
versus the reality of your talent speaks
For itself.
who attracts to you.
Yep. Yep.
Right? And your quality speaks who's going to keep coming to see your shows.
Yep.
And reality of it is that, you know, Black women have always been out a lot of infrastructures of success in this city and in the world. But it definitely, we have some skill sets that help Black men to be excellent.
Yep.
And Black men have skills that help us be
And
excellent.
I so appreciate you.
So the reality of it is that the cohesion of connectivity,
Yeah.
the visibility of unity, and the financial stability that happens when you don't have to worry about all the pieces only makes organizations do better.
Right.
And we see in this city, many organizations do that very nicely. You don't even know they're doing it.
Right.
That they're working together, that they have a cohesive financial contribution to each other. So therefore they can thrive
Mm-hmm.
and continue to grow. And we have to learn that system, and we have to also learn, not be guilty that we didn't have it before.
But we also have to be set up in an ecosystem that supports that.
Right. Right.
It can't be, here is a pool to support African American art, like
Right.
this one general pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what that says is all of us now, we know,
Mm-hmm.
we see the number,
Right.
we do the math, and we know I'm only eligible for then max
Right.
here. Or to a point we were talking earlier, you know, Dad, you kind of feel bad sometimes when you do win, because you know if I got it,
Somebody
I
else
know
did.
the name of the person who didn't,
Right. Right.
and I know the work they're doing.
Right.
That is just as worthy to be funded as well.
Right.
You know, but meanwhile, you can see tons of predominantly white organizations being funded at like 90%
Mm.
of what, like
Mm-hmm.
really
Right.
that many times over, like, and you had enough to give them that much and them that much and them and them and them, and but we had to it. So I feel like while it is so frustrating to
Mhm.
see that within our community, and we do need to address that, and we need to continue to cultivate, like, we can work together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so keenly aware of the continued system that we keep getting put in
Mm-hmm.
that fosters the, well, we need to make sure we get it. You
Right.
know,
Right.
and it's just a scarcity mindset, this
Mhm.
idea that it's not enough.
Right.
But I think what you're doing and what you're introducing and proposing is so revolutionary in terms
Mhm.
of, like, we're gonna just decide to come together.
Still to come, on stage with David Choate.
If you get the funding, great.
Mhm.
Who else in the
Now, partner,
Who else is in
Yeah.
the village that
Mhm.
can actually be a resource and actually make your work less?
yes.
I want you to see you, celebrated on screen, living your ordinary, extraordinary life. I want you to see you smiling, because it really is breathtaking every time you do it. My heart does this thing, but anyway, I want you to see you thriving, living your best life, caught on camera. We saw it. I want you to see you the way that I do. Beautiful. The way you were always intended to.
Right. And I think what we also have to decide is partnership. If you get the funding, great. Who else in the
now partner?
Who else is in
Yeah.
the village that can actually be a resource and actually make your work less?
Yes.
Because the funding is not fluid, right? It
yeah.
is limited from any funder, you know, foundations, grants, whatever, individual people that give money. The reality of it is that we have to look at this bigger than the money. Our skill sets is just as powerful as dollars, and sometimes even more powerful. Now, how do you equate to make sure your rent get paid, that you eat, that people whatever,
that you take care of your staff,
you know,
that you are achieving your strategic plan, like
now that takes strategic. That does take strategic.
That's the strategy,
planning, right?
Yeah.
The cool thing about the art consortium, I remember the director that I spent the most time was Donna Bradley Morton at the time, Donaldson.
Yeah.
She has multiple names, but Donaldson was her married name. What was awesome about her, you know, we would have these receptions, and she was like, you know, way we could. I think remember a board member said, "How can you cut funds? We don't have a lot of money, but you feeding all these people." She said, "Because when artists come here, they're going to be fed. That will not be our obstacle."
Yeah.
Right. So that seemed like a simple thing, but it was really a reality. You know, as an artist, food was the least thing on your list. You might buy film, you might have to buy some clothes, you might have to get some equipment. And her system of thinking, it's like my dad's system of thinking. When we had receptions, you brought the potato salad.
Yep.
I painted the gallery, and we had a show.
Yep.
You know, so that system of realizing that, yeah, everything does cost money, but I'm giving you a show. You're going to help me paint the gallery. You're going to patch the walls.
Yeah.
We lived in such a simplistic way. And we've almost become somewhat privileged that we actually feel like we need a lot of money to do a lot of things.
Yep.
Because the resources and the
like
talent.
Don't forget that you was pulling this off.
Right.
Before.
With nothing.
Yeah, with nothing.
Now, I'm not going to say I need a lot of money. I need to raise $12 million. But recognize that the labor, the services, the talent of this city can do that.
But what I'm hearing from start to finish, like, because I feel like there's a through line in everything we've talked about. There's a blessing and a curse in what we've been able to do as a people. Since slavery, we have made a lot with the nothing. With literally nothing. We've made a lot. I mean, there are traditions, practices, songs, products that were made in that time by those people that are still in practice being used, like food, recipes, things today, right? We have been doing the job without the resources.
Right.
And I think that's a blessing because without, you know, the resources, I'm still doing this show.
Yeah.
You know, without the resources, I'm still running Revolution Dance Theater and building it to be what it is. Do I have to work a lot harder to make that happen?
Yes.
Yeah. Without the resources, you're out here serving, you know, like saving this building that's like a gem in this West End community to the entire Cincinnati community. But not only about the building, but about the work that you're doing to save these artists, to put them to work, to uplift Black culture, to change this city. You're raising $12 million. $12 million.
$12 million.
No, just say it again.
Just 12 million.
Just 12 million, right? Without the same support.
Right.
And my mentor, I'll say this, like, and I'll just take your final thoughts on that. It makes me think that it's the blessing and the curse of Blackness. Because I was frustrated at a time, you know, trying to get a team of people to do better, right? And I would talk like, don't they see me doing all this work and da-da-da-da-da? And my mentor said, yeah, and that's the problem.
Right.
They see you doing it.
Right.
There is no problem. The show always gets done.
Mm-hmm.
The,
Yes.
the task always gets accomplished. The money always seems to get there.
Right.
So everything is fine.
Right. Right.
And it was like, they see you going crazy. And
Mhm.
it was like, and I'm like, well, it's just so sad because if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, does it all stop?
Yes, and that's what we don't want to happen.
That's what we don't want.
That's why we need establishments. That's why we need to share information. You know, I feel like my dad threw the baton at me and he didn't hand it to me. He like hit me upside the head with the baton of like, you know, like when you're running a race and pass the baton, he threw it at me. I caught it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like what has been the saving grace of my sanity is my family, you know, having the right person, right husband, right mama, family,
Right.
right in-laws, everything, the whole package.
Right.
Family is one. The second is allies and advocates.
Yeah.
So not all working at my pace, but
Yeah.
I got some strong allies. They don't all look like me. They all don't come from my immediate village, but they're there. And they
praise
don't,
God for the allies.
they don't know how to
Yeah.
fit in all the time, but they're there. And
Yeah.
that's important. The advocates, the people that speak for you that can't even speak for themselves, but will step up for you, those are crucial. And we underestimate those folks.
Right.
We think because they don't have a check to write or they're not necessarily able to even pay for a ticket sometime. But those advocates, those are powerful people.
Right.
And then I have the artists, which is the ones that I've leaned on the most, but naturally because what I'm building is theirs.
Right.
It's not mine. You know, I'm just making the door, building the space. Truly, this will be lived by artists from my 13-year-old in my youth program to my 70-year-old that's teaching people to sew, right?
Right.
This is a space that you will have a stage. So when I look at the big picture of all those people and those building blocks are things that make me able to go out here and get rejected.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a great story about rejection when I'm done.
A book or two.
Once I get what I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's reality
Yeah.
to realize that rejection is only an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Yep.
weaknesses can all be turned to strengths.
Yep.
You know, and we have to really focus on how do we build this together.
And with that, like, I will leave you guys with that last thought. Like, we've got to think, how do we do this together? Toilynn, I'm so glad
Thank you
that
so
you
much.
came, that you had this conversation with me. It touched me. I learned more, inspired more, and I really do hope that you guys did as well. So until next time, I will see you on stage with David Chick. I'd love to share one final takeaway that I got from my conversation with Toilynn. And that is, like I said in the beginning, there are those who just really enjoy being out there doing the work. And then there are those who really enjoy working with others, amplifying, creating the space, uplifting other work to be done. There's a myth that Black people cannot and will not work together. I'm encouraging you to join me in proving them wrong. So until next time, I'll see you on stage with David.